Welcome to this explainer. We are diving headfirst into a really chilling narrative today from the AI DarkVerse. We're going to break down this wild story where a routine photograph actually unveiled a terrifying cosmic secret. If you're someone who is fascinated by that weird intersection between our everyday technology and the absolute unknown, well, this escalating series of events is for sure going to keep you on the edge of your seat. We're going to look at exactly how a simple, everyday landscape photo spiraled into a massive existential mystery. Okay, let's kick things off with the absolute core question driving this entire investigation. What if your camera captured something humanity was just never supposed to see? I mean, we usually think of our cameras as these simple devices that just record the physical world around us exactly as our eyes see it, right? But this story completely flips that assumption on its head. It proposes this crazy idea that a camera lens might actually act as a bridge to something else entirely. So our story kicks off with this impossible anomaly. We meet Daniel Reed. He's a seasoned landscape photographer, the kind of guy who specializes in shooting the night sky. One night, Daniel drives out to this remote, totally empty desert just to get away from all the city light pollution. It's exactly 11:59 p.m., the sky is crystal clear, thousands of stars are out, and he is completely alone out there. He sets up his exposure, focuses right on the Milky Way, and snaps a picture. But when he gets back to his studio and processes that completely normal-looking sky, he realizes his camera captured something that should be literally impossible. Now, Daniel's initial discovery wasn't just, a weird smudge on the lens. It was a completely black human silhouette. Initially, it looks like it was standing about 200 meters away. But Daniel goes and checks the area, no footprints, no buildings, absolutely nobody was out there. And then the details get truly horrifying. This figure, it wasn't actually on the ground. It was standing directly up in the sky. So Daniel goes back the next night to test this out, and bam, the figure is there again. But this time, with every single subsequent photograph he takes, the entity moves closer. There are no physical footsteps, no movement you can see with the naked eye, but the camera proved it was coming right for him. At this point, Daniel starts examining these photos frame by frame. He realizes that while the dark figure itself has no face, the background right behind it is fully visible. He actually reaches out to an astronomer, and together they make a horrifying discovery. You see, while Earth's real sky has the Milky Way and all our known constellations, the sky captured in Daniel's photograph featured completely unfamiliar star maps. They didn't match anything. And even worse, instead of our known solar system bodies, the photo captured an impossible planet with visible cloud patterns. According to every single astronomical model we have, that planet simply does not exist. His camera was looking at a different sky entirely. Daniel is a professional, right? So he really needs to rule out some kind of bizarre tech glitch. On the third night, he goes back to the desert and sets up 5 different cameras at exactly midnight. He's using different angles, different lenses, totally different settings. And when those shutters all click at the exact same time, every single camera captures the exact same figure. Because he had those different angles, Daniel's able to arrange the photos side by side. And that confirms his absolute darkest fear. This figure wasn't just randomly appearing. It was walking intentionally, directly toward him. And that brings us to this really terrifying realization. Daniel decided to try a sight experiment. He looks directly at the spot in the desert with his naked eye. Nothing. Then he looks through the camera viewfinder. The figure is right there. He lowers the camera again. Nothing. This confirms a huge vital piece of the puzzle. This figure is completely invisible to human biology. The camera wasn't just recording our reality. It was literally functioning as a window into a totally hidden layer of existence. Naturally, Daniel does what anyone would do. He contacts the authorities. These photographs are so inexplicable that they quickly attract the attention of top military and scientific analysts. But just as this whole investigation starts gaining traction, Daniel suddenly gets this incredibly jarring anonymous message. Just 5 simple words. Stop taking photographs of it. Daniel immediately asks who sent the message, but of course, crickets, no response. Then, almost immediately after, a second, even more ominous warning comes through. It notices the camera. This is a huge deal because it proves that whatever this entity is, it isn't just passively standing there. It is highly aware that it's being watched, and clearly, someone else out there already knows all about it. So we have to zoom out for a second and ask the most logical next question. Was Daniel the only one seeing this? Like, was this just some isolated, creepy haunting happening to one guy in a remote desert? Or are we looking at a much, much larger phenomenon? Well, scientists started digging into historical archives, and the answer was a loud and resounding no. Researchers started discovering this exact same dark figure lurking in the background of photographs from all over the place, spanning different continents and entirely different decades. We're talking decades ago, showing up in the background of old historical portraits. By mid-century, it was getting spotted in classified military footage. Later on, it's found hiding in deep space astronomical photography. And in recent years, it's been captured on security cameras worldwide. Hundreds of times, this entity has just been silently standing there. Sometimes it's way off in the distance, and sometimes it's directly behind the photographer. Here is the really crucial point. Researchers put together a massive global database of all these sightings. They mapped out every single location where this figure had ever been photographed. And when they plotted all those points on a globe, they formed this massive, perfect geometric circle. And every single point directed them to exactly one specific location right at the center of that circle, the North Pole. Obviously, a specialized research team immediately heads out to the freezing Arctic. First thing they find? They detect this completely unexplained radio frequency, but it's not coming from space. It's coming from deep beneath the ice. So they drill hundreds of meters down, and they make an absolute staggering discovery. They find this massive, perfectly smooth, circular black structure down there that completely defies all known geological processes. They lower a camera down into the opening to see what's inside, and the screen reveals the impossible. That exact same dark figure is standing right there inside it. When the team finally manages to get inside the structure, they find themselves in a massive chamber. And get this, the walls of this room are covered with millions of photographs. We're talking pictures of Earth across different centuries, different ancient civilizations, and entirely different people. This was the terrifying proof that humanity wasn't just being visited. We have been constantly, silently watched for a very, very long time. But among these millions of historical images, the researchers stumbled onto something that completely shattered their entire understanding of time. They found a photograph of Daniel Reed. But wait, it wasn't a photo from his past. It was an impossible photograph dated 30 years in the future. It showed Daniel, 30 years older, standing in that exact same desert. But this time, he's looking directly at the figure standing right behind him. And written on the back of this future photograph was a terrifying 3-word message: "We have waited." The exact moment they read those words, this massive underground structure literally begins to vibrate. The walls physically start changing, and all those millions of photographs in the room just vanish, one by one, until only a single image is left. It was a photograph of Earth. But right before their eyes, the planet in the image starts changing. The cities disappear, the lights go completely out, the oceans turn dark, the atmosphere turns entirely black, and finally, Earth is left looking completely empty. With all of this impossible evidence mounting, we've got altered skies, impossible future photos, a literal prediction of a dark Earth, we really have to ask the ultimate question here. What exactly was this figure? Because whatever it was, it certainly wasn't acting like a standard biological organism. The researchers ultimately came to this conclusion. The figure was an observer. It wasn't an alien from another planet, it wasn't a ghost, and it wasn't a monster. It was an entity that literally exists somewhere between our physical reality and another entirely different layer of existence. The camera wasn't creating the figure. Instead, the specific optics of the camera lenses were just allowing human beings to perceive a layer of reality that our brains actively filter out. So every single photograph ever taken of them was actually a window. Terrified by all this, the research team rushes back to the surface. The sky looks totally normal again, and the structure goes completely silent. But as they're packing up all their gear, this unexplained final photo just appears on one of the scientists' cameras. Nobody clicked at the shutter, nobody took it. The image showed Earth from space, but totally surrounding our planet, hovering out there in the void, were thousands of these dark figures. And right in the center of that horrifying image of Earth, surrounded by thousands of observers, was this single, chilling sentence. It read, "The photograph was the warning." It wasn't just some random record of a mysterious entity. This entire phenomenon was a highly calculated message signaling humanity's impending doom. Which brings us all the way back to Daniel. After all of this went down, Daniel actually destroyed all his cameras and gave up photography completely. But the phenomenon wasn't quite done with him. Years later, Daniel receives an anonymous envelope in the mail.
Inside is a photo of his own house, taken from the outside, showing Daniel standing at the window. But right behind him, inside the house, is the figure. Daniel spins around, and nothing is there. But then his old camera sitting on the shelf activates entirely by itself. The shutter clicks, and the screen displays one final, absolutely impossible image. It's Earth from very far away, surrounded not just by thousands, but by millions of figures. Just watching. And waiting.
This entire story from AI DarkVerse really challenges everything we think we know about the everyday tools we use to capture our reality. It suggests that our cameras might occasionally reveal this true, terrifying layer of existence that our own brains are just desperately trying to protect us from seeing. So I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought to keep in mind. The next time you point a lens at the night sky, look carefully. Not at the stars. Look between them. Because you really never know what might be standing out there looking back. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and remember to always keep questioning what you see.